Welcome to the Sleep Outpost. If you enjoy drifting off to sleep with stories like this, hit subscribe so you never miss a new one. Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let tonight's journey begin. There is a mountain that has stood since before the naming of the world, and within its ancient bones, there lives a quiet craftsman who speaks to stones. Tonight, you are going to visit him. But there is no hurry, no rush, no reason to do anything other than settle deeper into wherever you are resting, and let your breath slow to the pace of something old and patient. Let your shoulders soften. Let the weight of the day pour out through your fingertips and the soles of your feet, and for a little while, let the world take care of itself. The mountain is called the Veinmount, and it earned its name from the thin ribbons of luminous mineral that thread through its granite like veins through a sleeping hand. From a distance, on certain evenings when the light falls just so, you can see those veins glowing faintly beneath the surface of the rock, pale blue, soft amber, the gentlest green, as if the mountain itself were dreaming with its eyes half closed. The path that leads to the workshop begins at the base of the eastern slope, where a stream runs so quietly over smooth stones that it sounds less like water and more like someone turning the pages of a very old book. The trees here are enormous, their trunks wrapped in thick moss the color of sage and sea glass, their roots reaching across the path in gentle arches that you step over one by one, each footfall soft on the damp earth beneath. The air smells of wet stone and cedar and something older still, the deep mineral scent of the mountain itself, which has been breathing this same slow breath for 10,000 years. You do not need to think about where you are going. The path knows its own way, curving gently upward through the forest, and all you need to do is walk and breathe and listen. Breathe slowly now, in through your nose, out through your mouth, matching your breath to the rhythm of the stream beside you. The forest grows quieter as you climb, not silent exactly, but hushed in the way a library is hushed, full of presence but emptied of noise. The evening light filters down through the canopy in long amber shafts, each one thick with motes of dust that turn slowly in the still air like tiny golden planets orbiting nothing at all. A bird calls somewhere far above you, a single clear note that rises and fades like a question asked by someone who already knows the answer. Then the forest is quiet again, and the only sound is the soft rhythm of your footsteps on the path and the whisper of the wind through branches that have been growing since before anyone thought to give them names. The path narrows and turns inward, and you notice that the trees are thinning now, giving way to great slabs of exposed rock that rise on either side like the pages of an open book, their surfaces covered in lichen the color of old copper and faded gold. Between the stones, small ferns uncurl their fronds in slow green spirals, each one reaching toward the last of the daylight with infinite patience. You can see the entrance now, not grand, not imposing, but simply there, the way a doorway in a well-loved home is simply there. It is an opening in the rock face, perhaps twice as tall as you are, its edges worn smooth by the passage of uncounted years. Around its frame, the luminous veins of the mountain converge and brighten, tracing delicate patterns that pulse so slowly they seem to breathe. There is nothing to fear here, nothing to solve or fix or figure out. You are simply arriving at a place that has been waiting for you with the patience only a mountain can possess. Let your body grow heavier. Let your thoughts drift like the dust motes in the amber light. The entrance is just ahead, and beyond it there is warmth and quiet and the deep, slow magic of stones that remember everything. You step through the opening and the temperature shifts gently, not cold, not warm, but perfectly held, the way the air feels inside a cave that has been keeping its own counsel for millennia. The stone beneath your feet is smooth and slightly warm, heated by some deep vein of the mountain's inner fire, and each step you take produces a soft, resonant note, as though the floor itself were singing you deeper inside. The entrance hall stretches ahead of you in a gentle downward curve, its walls alive with the luminous veins you saw from outside. Here, though, they are brighter, more intricate, branching and weaving through the stone in patterns that are not quite geometric, not quite organic, but something in between, as if the mountain had been dreaming its own mathematics for so long that the dreams had crystallized into light. Each vein glows with its own quiet color. The deepest ones, those closest to the floor, burn a steady amber, the color of honey held up to firelight. Higher up, they shift to a soft blue that reminds you of the sky just after the last light has faded, but before the first star has appeared. And near the ceiling, which arches above you like the inside of a gentle wave, there are threads of pale green that pulse so slowly you have to watch for a long time before you can see them change at all. Breathe in the stillness of this place. There is nothing to do here but walk and look, and let the quiet fill you up like water filling a cup. Along the walls, at irregular intervals, there are alcoves cut into the stone, each one containing a single object: a rough crystal the size of your fist, or a polished river stone arranged on a small pedestal of darker rock, or a thin sheet of mica that catches the vein light and scatters it into tiny rainbows on the opposite wall. These are not decorations, though they are beautiful. They are specimens, samples, conversations that the Stonecaller has been having with the deep earth, each one a question asked in the language of pressure and time. You pass a small shelf where a row of geodes has been split open and arranged in order of their interior colors, deep violet fading through lavender to the palest pink to white. Looking at them is like watching a sunset played in reverse, very slowly, across 1,000,000 years. The hall curves again, and now you can hear something, not a sound exactly, but a vibration, a low hum that you feel more in your chest than in your ears, as though the mountain were purring. It is the voice of the deep stone, the resonance of rock that has been settling into itself since the world was new, and it is the most peaceful sound you have ever almost heard. The air carries a new scent now, warm clay and iron filings, and something that smells remarkably like old paper, though there is no paper here, only stone upon stone upon stone, each layer telling its own slow story of compression and heat and the infinite patience of geology. The path levels out and widens into a small antechamber where the ceiling rises higher and the veins of light gather and brighten, illuminating a wooden door set into the stone. The door is old, its surface darkened by centuries of use, its iron handle worn to a gentle curve by the touch of a single pair of hands over a very long time. There is a symbol carved into the wood, a simple spiral, the universal sign of something that turns inward, something that goes deeper, something that finds its center and rests there. Let your thoughts spiral inward now, gently, the way water spirals down a quiet drain. Let each thought arrive and pass without holding on to it, without following it anywhere. You are going deeper, and the deeper you go, the more peaceful it becomes. You place your hand on the door and feel the wood humming faintly beneath your palm, resonating with the same deep note as the mountain itself. You push gently, and the door swings open without a sound, and beyond it there is light, warm, golden, flickering light, and the quiet, rhythmic sound of someone working with their hands. The room that opens before you is the heart of the Veinmount, and it is exactly as warm and welcoming as a heart should be. It is large but not cavernous, round but not perfectly so, its walls curving inward like the inside of a great stone egg. The ceiling is high enough that the shadows gather in the upper reaches and pool there like dark water, but the lower half of the room is filled with a warm amber glow that comes from everywhere and nowhere. From the luminous veins that are thickest here, from the cluster of beeswax candles on the central work table, from the low fire that burns in a stone hearth carved directly into the far wall, its flames the color of autumn leaves. And there, at the center of it all, is the Stonecaller. He is old, though his age is the kind that suggests patience rather than frailty. His hair is long and silver-white, gathered loosely at the back of his neck, and his beard falls to the middle of his chest like a cascade of fine-spun quartz. His hands, and you notice his hands first, as people always do, are large and sure and extraordinarily gentle, the hands of someone who has spent a lifetime touching things that require the softest possible touch. He is sitting at a wide work table made of a single slab of dark granite, its surface scattered with stones of every size and description, rough chunks of basalt, thin wafers of slate, polished spheres of jasper and agate, fragments of crystal that catch the candlelight and throw it back in tiny sparks. Before him sits a single stone, about the size of a loaf of bread, its surface unremarkable, dull gray, slightly rough, the kind of stone you might step over on a hiking trail without a second glance. But the Stonecaller is holding his hands above it, palms down, fingers slightly spread, and his eyes are closed, and the expression on his face is one of absolute listening. Not just hearing, but listening, the way you listen when someone you love is speaking very quietly about something that matters deeply to them. Let your own body find that quality of listening now. Let your ears soften. Let your jaw release. Let your face relax into an expression of gentle attention, as though the world were whispering something beautiful just for you. He has not looked up when you entered, but he knows you are here. After a long, unhurried moment, he opens his eyes. They are the color of river stones, gray-green and flecked with amber, and he smiles. "Come in," he says, and his voice is exactly what you would expect, low and warm and slightly rough, like a hand running over unfinished wood. The stones are in a talkative mood tonight. Pull up a chair. There is a chair beside the table, an old wooden thing with a thick cushion on the seat, and you sink into it with a sigh that seems to come from somewhere deeper than your lungs. The cushion is warm, as though someone has been sitting in it recently, and it fits the shape of your body as though it were made for exactly this purpose. The Stonecaller returns his attention to the unremarkable gray stone before him. He places one hand flat upon its surface and closes his eyes again, and you watch and breathe and let the warmth of the room hold you. "This one," he says quietly, without opening his eyes, "is from the riverbed 3 valleys east of here. It has been lying there for 4,000 years, give or take a century. It remembers the sound of the water. It remembers the weight of the snow. It remembers a time when the river ran warmer and the fish were different shapes." His voice is soft and unhurried, and each word seems to settle into the air the way a leaf settles onto still water, gently, with a small ripple that fades almost instantly. "Stones remember everything," he continues. "Not the way we remember, not in pictures or words. They remember in feelings, in pressures, in the slow mathematics of erosion and deposit. A stone that has sat in a river for 4,000 years remembers every single drop of water that has ever touched it, not as a story, but as a shape. The shape it has become is its memory." He opens his eyes and looks at you with an expression of quiet wonder, as though this fact, stones remembering, still amazes him after all these years. "My work," he says, lifting the stone and turning it slowly in the candlelight, "is translation. I listen to what the stones remember, and I translate their memories into something the human heart can understand. Sometimes that is a spell. Sometimes it is a song. Sometimes it is simply the feeling of deep rest that comes from knowing you are held by something older and stronger and more patient than anything you have ever known." He sets the stone down gently, and you watch his hands move over its surface with a tenderness that makes your own hands feel heavy and warm and ready to be still. The Stonecaller rises from his chair with the slow deliberation of someone who has never been in a hurry and gestures for you to follow him. You stand, your body moving through honey, it seems, everything slow and warm and slightly golden, and he leads you to the far side of the workshop, where a series of tall wooden shelves stand against the curving stone wall. The shelves are filled with stones, not arranged with any obvious system, but with a care that suggests each one has been placed exactly where it belongs. There are stones the size of your thumbnail and stones the size of your head, stones that are perfectly round and stones that are all angles and edges, stones that are polished to a mirror shine and stones that are rough and raw and covered in the dust of whatever deep place they came from. These are the ones I am currently reading, the Stonecaller says, running his fingers along a shelf at eye level the way you might run your fingers along the spines of books in a beloved library. Each one has a story, and each story takes a different amount of time to hear. Some of these I have been listening to for months, some for years. One or two I have been listening to for longer than I can rightly remember. He picks up a small stone, deep blue-black and shot through with tiny veins of gold, and holds it up to the candlelight. "This is a piece of the mountain's own heart," he says. "I found it in the deepest chamber, where the veins are so bright they light the tunnels like daylight. It has been dreaming for 10,000 years, and its dream is so large and so slow that I have only heard the very beginning of it. Breathe deeply now, slowly, in through your nose, filling your chest with the warm air of this underground workshop, and let the breath out like a slow sigh that has been waiting all day to be released." He replaces the stone and moves along the shelf, touching each one briefly, as if greeting old friends. This one dreams of the sea that once covered this whole valley, millions of years ago. This one dreams of fire, the volcano that built the original bones of this mountain. And this one, he pauses at a pale white stone that seems almost to glow from within. This one dreams of starlight. It formed from the dust of a meteor that fell so long ago that the stars it came from have since burned out and been reborn. His voice has taken on a rhythmic quality, each sentence rising and falling like a wave that never quite reaches the shore, and you find yourself breathing in time with his words, in and out, each breath a little slower, a little deeper, a little more like resting. The Stonecaller leads you past the shelves to a small alcove where a stone basin sits on a pedestal, filled with clear water. In the water, arranged in a careful spiral, are dozens of small flat stones, river stones, each one smooth and round and no bigger than a coin. The water is perfectly still, and the stones beneath its surface seem to shimmer with a light that is not reflected from the candles, but generated from within, as if each stone were a tiny sleeping lantern. "The dreaming pool," he says, looking down at it with an expression of deep affection. "I place the stones here when they are ready to release their memories. The water helps them let go. It takes days, sometimes weeks. But when a stone releases its memory into the water itself becomes charged with that memory, and anyone who touches it can feel what the stone felt, the weight of glaciers, the warmth of ancient sunlight, the slow, patient pressure of becoming." He dips one finger into the water and closes his eyes, and a look of extraordinary peace crosses his face. After a moment, he opens his eyes and smiles at you. "Would you like to try?" You reach out your hand and let one fingertip break the surface of the water, and what you feel is not cold, not warm, but something else entirely. A feeling of being held, of being supported from below by something immensely strong and immensely gentle, like the feeling of being cradled in the palm of a hand made of solid mountain. Let that feeling spread through you now. Let it travel up your arm and into your chest and down through your legs and into your feet. Let it settle into every part of you, heavy and warm and utterly safe. You withdraw your hand slowly, and the water returns to perfect stillness, and the little stones continue their quiet dreaming beneath the surface, each one holding its slow, bright memory like a promise. The Stonecaller leads you back to the work table, where the gray river stone still sits in its pool of candlelight. He settles into his chair with the careful grace of someone lowering themselves into a warm bath, and he picks up the stone and holds it between his palms. "Watch now," he says quietly. I am going to read this stone's memory. It will not look like much. Most of the real work happens in places you cannot see. But if you are very still and very quiet, you may feel it. He closes his eyes and his breathing changes, not faster or slower exactly, but deeper, more deliberate, as though each breath were a question and the stone were the answer. His hands begin to glow faintly, a pale amber light seeping between his fingers like dawn light through curtains, and the gray surface of the stone begins to change. Colors emerge from within, not painted on the surface, but rising up from deep inside, the way colors rise in a sunset, gradually and then all at once. Blues and greens and the softest amber, swirling slowly through the stone like milk stirred into tea, each color carrying its own feeling, its own fragment of 4,000 years of memory. Let your eyes grow heavy as you watch. Let the colors blur and soften at the edges. Let the warm light of the workshop fill the spaces behind your eyelids with its own gentle patterns. The stonecaller begins to speak, and his voice is different now, lower, softer, barely above a whisper, as though the words are not entirely his but are coming through him from the stone itself. Water, he murmurs, the sound of water over smooth surfaces. 1,000 years of rain, each drop a small greeting, each drop a small goodbye. The stone remembers the first raindrop that ever touched it, a warm rain, in a world that was warmer then, when the ferns were taller than houses and the air smelled of copper and salt. The colors in the stone pulse gently as he speaks, blue brightening with each mention of water, amber deepening with each mention of warmth. Snow, he continues, the weight of snow, which is the lightest kind of pressure. Centuries of it, piling and melting, each layer a soft white blanket laid down and then gently taken away. The stone loved the snow. It loved the way the world went quiet under it, the way all sound was absorbed into that white softness, the way everything slowed down and rested. There is a pause, and in the silence you can hear the fire in the hearth shifting, a log settling deeper into its bed of embers with a soft exhalation of sparks. And the river, the stonecaller whispers, always the river, the constant companion. The stone remembers every current, every eddy, every place where the water turned and came back on itself in a small spinning circle before moving on. It remembers the fish that rested in its shadow on hot days. It remembers the herons that stood on one leg in the shallows nearby, patient as stones themselves. Breathe slowly now, in and out, in and out. Let each breath carry you deeper, the way the river carried the stone deeper into its bed over 4,000 patient years. The light between the stonecaller's fingers dims gradually, and the colors in the stone settle and fade, sinking back into the gray surface like a dream sinking back into sleep. He opens his eyes slowly, as if waking from a long rest, and sets the stone down with great tenderness. That is what it remembers, he says softly. Water and snow and patience, 4,000 years of quiet attention. That is what all stones remember, in their own way, the feeling of being exactly where they are, for exactly as long as they need to be there, without any desire to be anywhere else. He looks at you with eyes that hold the same quiet contentment as the stone's memory, and you feel something in your chest release. Some small knot of tension you did not even know was there, loosening and letting go, like a hand unclenching around a stone it has been holding too tightly for too long. The fire in the hearth has burned down to a deep bed of embers that glow like a field of tiny orange stars, and the stonecaller rises to add a single log. A piece of oak, he tells you, from a tree that grew on the mountain's western slope for 300 years before it fell in a storm that was gentle enough to lay it down without breaking a single branch. The log catches slowly, its edges brightening from amber to gold, and the warmth in the room deepens by 1 degree, exactly enough to make you sink a little further into your chair, your body growing heavier and more comfortable with each slow moment that passes. Let your muscles release now, one by one, starting at the top of your head and moving slowly downward, like warm water pouring over you. Your forehead smooths, your jaw unclenches, your neck softens, your shoulders drop just a little, and the release feels like setting down a weight you have been carrying for longer than you realized. The stonecaller returns to his work table, but instead of picking up a stone, he opens a large leather-bound book that lies at one corner of the table. Its pages thick and cream-colored and covered in writing that looks more like drawings, spirals and circles and long flowing lines that curve and intersect in patterns that are half diagram, half poetry. "These are my spells," he says, turning the pages slowly with one careful finger. Though spell is perhaps the wrong word, they are more like translations. I listen to what the stones dream, and I write down what I hear in a language that the human body can understand. He finds the page he is looking for and smooths it flat with his palm. The writing on this page is darker than the others, as though it were written with greater intensity, and the spirals are tighter, more intricate, turning inward on themselves like the shell of a nautilus. "This one," he says, "is a spell of rest. I translated it from a piece of basalt that spent 600 years at the bottom of a lake so deep and so still that even the light could not reach it. The stone learned something down there in the darkness, something about what it means to be truly at rest, not just sleeping, not just still, but held in a state of perfect equilibrium where nothing needs to happen and nothing needs to change." He traces the spiral on the page with his finger, and as he does, you feel a resonance in your own body, a low, slow vibration that starts in your chest and spreads outward through your arms and legs, like the ripples from a stone dropped into perfectly still water. "The spell works like this," he murmurs, his finger still tracing. "It reminds your body of what it already knows, that you are made of the same elements as the stones, the same minerals, the same ancient dust. Your bones are calcium and phosphorus. Your blood carries iron. You are, in the most literal sense, a walking collection of minerals that have been arranged, very temporarily, into the shape of a person." His voice has become almost hypnotically soft, each word a small, smooth stone laid down in a line. "And what the stones know, your bones know too. They know how to rest. They know how to let go of tension and movement and purpose and simply be. They have been resting for millions of years in one form or another, and the memory of that rest is still inside them, still inside you, waiting to be remembered. Let yourself remember it now. Let your bones remember what it feels like to be still, to be held, to be supported from below by the patient earth. You are not floating. You are resting, the way a stone rests at the bottom of a riverbed, held in place by nothing more than the gentle weight of its own existence." The stonecaller closes the book and sets his hands flat on the table, palms down, and you can see the faint amber glow still lingering in his fingertips, the last echo of the stone's memory passing through him and dissipating gently into the warm air of the workshop. "Rest is not something you have to create," he says softly. "It is something you allow, like gravity, like the slow settling of sediment through still water. You simply stop holding yourself up, and the earth does the rest." The fire shifts again, and a single ember breaks free and spirals upward through the air, turning from orange to gold to gray as it rises, until it disappears into the darkness above the hearth like a small star winking out at dawn. The workshop has grown quieter still, if such a thing is possible. The candles on the work table have burned down to half their height, their flames reduced to small, steady points of gold that barely flicker in the perfectly still air. The fire has settled into a deep glow, its warmth radiating outward in slow waves that you can feel against your skin like the pulse of a sleeping giant. The stonecaller pushes back from his table and stands, stretching slowly, his joints making small, quiet sounds like pebbles settling into sand. He walks to the far wall of the workshop, where the luminous veins are thickest. A great convergence of blue and amber and green that rises from the floor and spreads across the stone like the roots of an enormous glowing tree. He presses both palms flat against the wall, and the veins respond. The light brightens beneath his hands and then begins to pulse, slowly, rhythmically, in a pattern that you recognize after a moment as a heartbeat. Not a human heartbeat, which is quick and insistent, but a mountain's heartbeat, which is so slow that each beat takes the length of 3 of your own breaths. Breathe with it now. Let your breath slow to match that ancient rhythm. In, hold, 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 out, in, hold, 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 out, each breath deeper than the last. Each breath carrying you further into the deep, warm center of yourself. The mountain is singing, the Stonecaller says, his voice barely louder than the hum of the veins beneath his hands. It sings this same song every night, has sung it every night for 10,000 years. It is a song about the weight of stone, and the patience of darkness, and the slow, sweet feeling of being absolutely, completely, perfectly still. The vibration spreads from the wall through the floor, and you can feel it in the soles of your feet and the base of your spine. A deep, low resonance that is less a sound than a feeling, the way the bass note of a cathedral organ is less a sound than a full-body experience of something too large and too low to be heard with ears alone. The Stonecaller begins to hum, matching his voice to the vibration of the mountain, and the two sounds weave together. His voice warm and human, the mountain's voice deep and mineral, creating a harmony that seems to pass through your body like light through water, touching every part of you without disturbing anything. There are no words to the song, no melody in the usual sense, just a long, slow, continuous note that rises and falls with the breathing of the mountain. And as you listen, you feel something happening in your body that is difficult to describe, a softening, a letting go, as though every muscle and tendon and bone were remembering, all at once, how to be stone. Not rigid, not hard, but heavy, settled, grounded, held. Your arms are heavy now, wonderfully heavy, resting wherever they have come to rest with the patient weight of stones that have found their place. Your legs are heavy too, sinking into the chair, into the floor, into the mountain itself, which holds you the way it holds every stone, gently, firmly, with the absolute assurance of something that has been holding things for longer than time. The Stonecaller's humming grows softer, fainter, blending so completely with the mountain's voice that you can no longer tell where one ends and the other begins. They are the same sound now, the same slow vibration, and you are part of it too, your breathing, your heartbeat, your body settling into its own quiet place in the deep, warm center of the Veinmount. Let everything slow down. There is no need to think, no need to move. No need to be anything other than exactly what you are, a body resting, a mind quieting, a heart beating in time with something ancient and kind. Time has become something different here in the workshop. Not faster or slower, but thicker, as though each moment were a layer of warm sediment settling over the last, building up in gentle deposits that hold you in place the way a riverbed holds a sleeping stone. The Stonecaller has returned to his work table and picked up a small, crystal, clear quartz, perfectly transparent, about the length of his index finger. He holds it up to the candlelight and turns it slowly, and inside the crystal, the light breaks and scatters into tiny rainbows that swim across the walls and ceiling of the workshop like fish made of color. This crystal, he says, in a voice that is now so quiet you have to lean in slightly to hear it, grew in darkness, deep beneath the mountain over the course of 1,200 years. Each layer you see, and there are thousands of them, paper-thin, stacked one on top of another, each layer represents a year of patient growth. A year of silence. A year of slowly becoming more transparent, more clear, more perfectly itself. He lowers the crystal and holds it against his chest, over his heart, and the faint amber glow returns to his hands, pulsing gently in time with his breathing. I often think, he murmurs, That rest is something like this: a slow process of becoming clear, of letting the sediment settle and the water still and the light pass through without distortion. You cannot rush a crystal into transparency. You cannot force water to be still. You can only create the conditions: darkness, warmth, patience, time, and then let the clarity come on its own. Let your mind become still now, like the water in the dreaming pool. If a thought arises, let it be a small stone dropped into the water. Watch the ripples spread and fade and disappear, and then let the surface return to perfect stillness. He sets the crystal down beside the gray river stone and picks up the candle nearest to him, cupping his free hand around the flame. The light glows through his fingers, turning them translucent at the edges, and for a moment his hand looks like it is made of warm amber stone, lit from within. In the old language of the geomancers, he says, there is no word for insomnia. There is no word for restless. These concepts did not exist for the people who first learned to read the memories of stones because they understood something that the modern world has largely forgotten. That rest is not the absence of wakefulness, but the presence of something else, something deeper, something that stones have always known. He blows out the candle, gently, and a thin ribbon of smoke spirals upward in the still air, turning and turning in a slow helix that catches the light from the remaining candles, and the luminous veins and glows, briefly, like a thread of spun silver. That something, he whispers, is trust. The stone trusts the mountain to hold it. The mountain trusts the earth to carry it. The earth trusts the darkness to surround it. And in that chain of trust, stone to mountain to earth to darkness, there is a rest so deep and so complete that it has no bottom. You can fall and fall and fall into it, and there is always more, always deeper, always softer. Your body feels like it is falling now, very gently, very slowly, the way a feather falls through still air, not plummeting but drifting, turning slowly, settling toward a place of rest that is as deep as the mountain and as soft as the darkness beneath it. Let yourself drift, let yourself fall. There is nothing beneath you but rest, and it goes down forever. The workshop is very quiet now. Most of the candles have burned down to nothing, leaving small pools of hardened wax on the stone table like tiny frozen lakes. Only 2 candles remain, their flames barely visible, 2 small points of gold in the deepening warmth of the room. The stonecaller is still sitting at his table, but his posture has changed. He has settled deeper into his chair, his shoulders rounded, his hands resting palm up on his knees in a position of complete openness, complete surrender. His eyes are half closed, and the faint amber glow has faded from his hands, leaving them the color of old parchment in the dim light. The fire in the hearth is nothing more than a bed of embers now, deep red shading to orange at the edges, each ember a small world of quiet heat that pulses with a rhythm too slow to measure. The warmth they produce is not the sharp warmth of flames, but the deep, steady warmth of stones that have been heated slowly over many hours. A warmth that penetrates to the bone and stays there, heavy and constant and endlessly soothing. Breathe, just breathe. In and out like the tide, like the mountain's pulse, like the slow rhythm of a world that is settling into sleep all around you. There is an hour, the stonecaller says, and his voice is so quiet now that it seems to come from inside your own head, from a place deeper than thought, that the geomancers call the hour of deep stone. It comes in the middle of the night, when the mountain is at its most still, when even the veins stop their slow pulsing, and the darkness becomes so complete that you cannot tell where the stone ends and the air begins. His words come slower now, with longer pauses between them, each pause a pool of silence deep enough to rest in. In the hour of deep stone, the mountain dreams, not the small surface dreams of weather and erosion, but the deep dreams, the dreams of its own creation. It remembers the fire that made it, the pressure that shaped it, the millions of years of patient cooling that turned molten chaos into solid stone. Another pause, longer than the last. You can feel the weight of the silence pressing gently on your eyelids, your limbs, your thoughts. And in those dreams, the mountain finds its deepest rest, a rest so profound that it heals everything it touches. The stones that are cracked slowly mend, the veins that have dimmed slowly brighten. Everything that has been worn or broken or tired is gently, slowly, patiently made whole. Your breathing has become very slow now, each breath long and deep and unhurried, and you can feel the mountain's rest seeping into you through the warm stone floor, through the still air, through the quiet voice of the stonecaller, who is himself beginning to drift toward that deep place where the boundary between waking and sleeping dissolves like salt in warm water. "You are held," he murmurs. "You are held by the mountain, by the stone, by the deep earth beneath you, and there is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to think. Nothing you need to be, just rest, just rest. The stones are dreaming, and you can dream with them." The last candle but one flickers and dies, and the workshop sinks into a deeper darkness, lit only by the fading glow of the embers and the softest possible light from the luminous veins, which have dimmed to the faintest imaginable shimmer, like starlight seen through deep water, like memory seen through sleep. The stonecaller has stopped speaking. The workshop is so quiet now that you can hear the individual embers in the hearth cooling and settling, each one producing a tiny sound like a whispered syllable in a language that means nothing except rest. The last candle burns down to a small blue flame no larger than a tear, and the light it casts is not enough to see by, but just enough to feel a warm presence in the darkness, like a hand held near your face without quite touching it. The luminous veins in the walls have dimmed to their lowest point, their light now so faint that it exists more as a suggestion than an illumination. A gentle reminder that even in the deepest darkness, there is always a thread of brightness woven through the stone, always a vein of light running through the mountain's heart, always something warm and constant beneath the surface of things. You are so comfortable now, so warm, so heavy. Your body has found its place in the chair the way a stone finds its place in a riverbed, not through effort or intention, but through the simple natural process of settling, of letting gravity do its gentle work, of allowing yourself to be held. The stonecaller's breathing has become so slow and so deep that it is almost indistinguishable from the breathing of the mountain itself. That great, ancient, patient respiration that moves through the stone the way tides move through the ocean, unhurried and unstoppable and as old as the world. You can breathe with him. You can breathe with the mountain. You can let your breath become part of that slow rhythm, that deep pulse, that endless cycle of in and out, rise and fall, compression and release. In and out, each breath slower than the last, each breath deeper. Each breath carrying you further into the warm, dark center of the mountain, where the stones have been dreaming since before the stars were named. The gray river stone sits on the table between you, and in the near darkness, you think you can see it glowing very faintly, very gently, with the blue-green light of its own memories. 4,000 years of water and snow and patience, compressed into a small gray shape that fits in the palm of a hand, radiating the most peaceful energy you have ever felt. It is dreaming now, the stone, dreaming of the river that shaped it, dreaming of the rain that kissed its surface 10 million times, dreaming of the long, sweet darkness at the bottom of the world where everything is still and warm and held. And you are dreaming too. Not the sharp, busy dreams of the waking mind, but the deep, slow dreams of stone, dreams made of pressure and warmth and the gentle passage of time. Dreams that have no narrative and no conflict and no resolution. Only the endless, peaceful feeling of being exactly where you are, exactly as you are, held by something older and stronger and more patient than anything you could ever imagine. The last candle flickers once, twice, and then settles into a steady, almost invisible flame that will burn for hours yet, keeping the darkness at bay not through brightness, but through the simple, stubborn fact of its existence. A tiny, warm presence in a vast, cool world, asking nothing, offering everything. The Stonecaller sleeps. The mountain dreams. The veins pulse their slow light through the endless corridors of stone, carrying their messages of rest and patience and deep, abiding peace to every crack and crevice and hidden chamber in the ancient heart of the Veinmount. And you are part of it now. You are held in the mountain's dream, cradled in its warmth, resting in its darkness, safe and still and profoundly, perfectly at peace. Sleep now, sleep the way stones sleep, without worry, without time, without anything to hold you back from the deepest, most restful place you have ever known. The mountain holds you. The stones dream around you. And the Stonecaller, that gentle, patient translator of ancient memories, breathes his slow breath in the darkness beside you, and everything is well, and everything is at rest, and everything will still be here when you wake. But for now, just sleep, just sleep, just sleep.